That being said, you mentioned with the Usos and stuff like that, and Heyman's been teasing tension, which I like. It's been subtle, but, it's not like Roman's come out and completely gone off on these two for losing the tag team titles. They're still in pursuit of getting those belts back. We're not getting the rematch at the pay-per-view. We're getting a six-man tag team match at the pay-per-view that was made official on Monday's Raw. Because we got Solo and Riddle last week on SmackDown. I was very surprised they gave it away in such short notice, because that feels like a pay-per-view match to me. It was a good match. But it was announced on SmackDown, not tomorrow as we speak right now, but next Friday of the WWE Draft, we're getting that WrestleMania Night 1 rematch from WrestleMania 39, with Owens and Zane defending the tag team titles against the Usos. Now, are you as worried as I am that we might be seeing a title change, or do you think that's just, which is good, because if we're not, and they're playing into the fears like, oh, the Usos might get the belts back, and I only say there's a chance they might get the belts back because they're going to Saudi Arabia next month. We'll talk about this in a moment, but they've rebranded the King of the Ring pay-per-view. Like, right after we wrapped up last week, they announced this. King and Queen of the Ring is now Night of Champions, which in the past has typically featured every championship must be defended. And if Owens does not work the Saudi shows, Sammy does not work the Saudi shows, I don't know how you kind of work around that. I don't want to see them lose the championship so soon. It doesn't negate the moment at WrestleMania at all, but it would be kind of dumb to take the belt right off of them after 3 weeks. Are you as worried as I am that we might be seeing a short reign from Sammy and Kevin?
I think it's possible. I mean, I'm ready to laugh when Solo hits one of them with a spike and they win 1, 2, 3. And
It's been happening a lot lately, yeah.
I'm ready for that at this point, so I know it's going to happen. I'm already set it up for it. He'll hit the spike. Everyone will get pissed, get him more heat, and we'll move on.
Solo's been getting a lot of heat lately. Before we get to these...
Alexis hates him.
Alexis hates him. And Alexis, she even said on Monday, she was talking to Dylan, she goes, he's my favorite Bloodline member, and she loves Solo, she always has, but she goes, man, I hate what he's doing right now, as far as, like, she hates the fact that he keeps winning, and he's beating all of your favorites. He beat Rey Mysterio. He's beating Sami Zayn. He's beating Kevin Owens. He beat Matt Riddle last week on SmackDown. He's interfering in all these matches. I did hate what they did at WrestleMania with him. I thought that was lazy as fuck. The finish to the main event. I agree with that. But everything else, listen, it's called heat. It's called heat, pal. What am I, Bully Ray now? It's all about the heat. And I think they're doing a good job of getting heat on the Bloodline. The babyfaces did stand tall on Monday, so it's not like Owens, Zane, and Riddle have got their asses handed to them every single week. Solo's been on a tear, though. I feel like his ceiling is limitless, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I think I think the point is, like, people get mad, but that's the point. Like, you're supposed to be pissed at Solo. So I think in his role, he's done well. Like you said, they didn't stand tall at the end of Raw, but I mean, it is like people complain about, like, oh, they have no heat. Like, he's a heel. People are supposed to hate him.
Yeah,
and, like,
no, he's got great heat.
WrestleMania match, like, yes, the WrestleMania finish was like literally Clash of Champions 2.0, but. Or not Clash of Champions, Castle. What the fuck was that?
Oh, Clash of the Castle, yeah.
Clash of the Castle, but I don't know, like you're supposed to hate him, so I like that he's kind of like the face right now with Roman gone, like him and Heyman, like you said, like Heyman's like, oh, like me and Solo, no, and the Usos like, what the fuck, so, I mean, I like it.
You texted me something interesting the other day saying that you can't wait for, what was it, Solo turning on the Usos? You think that's the next thing?
I can't wait.
So you think that's the next step of the storyline? Not that it's happening tomorrow or in a month or whatever, but I feel like, I don't know, when do you think we get that? And do you think that's the end of the Bloodline? Or do they continue on without the Usos or just Jay? Where do you think the Bloodline storyline is going from here, regardless of what the championship and what role that plays and everything?
Kid literally asked the hardest question ever, and I try my best to answer it.
Yeah.
I think with the problem with this whole Bloodline, I just don't, like, I feel like we don't know where it's going, but
I like that, though.
But that's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a turn's coming sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But I mean, it really depends. Like, are we? I don't know. I feel like people are saying, like, oh, maybe we'll get Roman and Jay at SummerSlam, so then we wouldn't get Cody. So, like, is Roman holding the belt for another year? Like, yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Like I said, or like Zane and Owens retain, and then we get like the split quickly, like in the next week or two. So I feel like they've been teasing it enough that I think it'll happen sooner. But like you said, are they not in the Bloodline anymore? Or, like, do they eventually replace them with someone else? Like, do they replace them with other members of the Samoan family? Like, there's plenty of them, so they could just pull them out of the woodworks. I mean, do they join they do a War Games in November. Like, I feel like there's so many opportunities. Like, I've seen so many things brought up. I'm like, that's a possibility. Like, one's if, like, they add new members that because the family has, like, 1,000 kids and, you know, the Usos or Jay team up with Zane, Owens, and Riddle. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many opportunities. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but, I mean, it has my interest.
Do you think there's a possibility that one of the next steps of the storyline could involve Jey Uso winning Money in the Bank? And this was a thought last year. It might have been 2 years ago from someone. I've seen it pitched before. When Sami Zayn actually could have won it and he didn't. Do you think there's a chance that maybe Jey Uso could win Money in the Bank? And not to say that he'll cash in successfully or cash in at all, but they could tell the story that he might cash in on Roman and Roman's going to kind of have to watch his back.
I mean...
Would you want to see that?
Yes.
You would? Okay, interesting.
You're asking the wrong person, though. I'm a huge Jey Uso mark.
No,
so.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts on it are. That's all.
I think it'd be a cool idea. Like you said, like, especially, like, if they keep teasing the tension, like, oh, Roman's not happy with you. It's like, oh, Roman not happy with me? Well, guess what? Like, I'm a second away from Roman being vulnerable and taking the belt. Like, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Like, it could, like... It's like a chip, like, it's like a chip on his shoulder, like, don't mess with me because I have this that could take your belt away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Roman can be pissed at us, whatever, but, like, I'm here. Like, I have this. Like, he can be mad all he wants, but, like, he just get like, if he turns on me, like, I have this and I can take the belts off him.
There's also the option, as other people have kind of brought up, and I'm more in favor of the Jay thing, because I think that creates more intrigue than this happening. But what about Solo being the one to not only turn on Roman, but take the championships from Roman? Now, I'll just preface it by saying this. I'm actually not a fan of that idea, and maybe I would feel differently in 6 months. I always say that, because my mind changes like the fucking weather. I'm like Vince McMahon. Maybe my mind would change. As it currently stands, I don't like that, because one, I don't think he's ready. And two, I just feel like if anyone from the Bloodline was taking the belt, and I think Solo is more of a main eventer than Jay, but I just think Jay would make for a better moment. I think with the Solo thing, it's too much like the Batista Wardlow formula where like the big heavy turns on the leader. I think Jay just makes more sense. I mean, we already had Sammy turn on the Bloodline. You can have Solo and Jay turn on him separately. That just doesn't make sense. So I'm not too much of a fan of that idea, but I wanted to get your 2 cents.
Yeah, I think if I would want, I mean, like I said, you're asking the wrong person again, but I mean, I think realistically, like, obviously, we saw that thing that they posted a couple of weeks ago before Mania, like the whole Bloodline thing. Like, it started with Jay. So, like, long-term storytelling, like, Jay theoretically would be the one to take the belt off Roman. Like, technically, I mean, that's how it started. Like, I don't know. I feel like it makes sense in that aspect. Like you said, not that I see Jay as, like, world champion, but I think he's more ready for, like, a short run than Solo is. I like Solo, but I feel like he would have to break off from Roman, and you would have to put Heyman with him. Like, Solo can't talk, so It's like, I feel like I think Jay's good enough on the mic. Like, you could have a short reign and make sense. Like I said, like, the Bloodline story started with him and Roman. Like, it would make sense, but if anyone from the Bloodline was going to beat Roman, I think it would have to be him.
Are you at all confident still that Cody Rhodes will be the one to ultimately take the championship or championships off of Roman Reigns, or are you not so sure at this point?
I'm honestly not sure at this point. After watching the Dusty documentary and he mentioning the chase, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Cody.
I heard a lot of talk about that, yeah.
I'm like, is Cody going to lose like 5 times to Roman and just never beat him? I honestly think there's a better chance that like Roman loses the belts, like kind of like what you had mentioned, like Roman loses the belt to someone else, and like the WWE Championship becomes its own thing, and then he beats someone for it. I don't trust him at this point that he's beating Roman, so I don't know. I think he should beat Roman, or be one of the people in line to beat Roman. I just don't. The more and more I think about it, I just don't think it's going to happen. You said it 100 times, and it makes so much sense. Like, if you were going to do it, WrestleMania made the most sense, and they didn't do it. So it's like, I don't have faith in them now to like do it correctly. So I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe I'm just like setting myself up to, if he beats him, I'll be happy, but I don't know. I just feel like if he was going to beat him and there's no better opportunity, like, I don't know. I just don't trust him at this point.